But I've never liked the Obrect character. They kept her as a villain on this show for too long. It was one of the times that I stopped watching for a long while was because of her character, quite frankly. What is up, everybody? Here to give it my quick review of yesterday's episode of General Hospital as it starts a new week. I was not able to recap last Friday's episode, but there was not a whole lot to talk about, and I feel like Monday is honestly kind of the same way. So I will probably be transitioning to a more weekly recap for General Hospital because the daily recaps aren't something I think I can keep up with right now. Plus, since the Jason exit, they haven't exactly capitalized on that momentum where storylines were concerned ever since then. Before I begin today's review, though, I do want to sadly talk about Kirsten Storms. News broke yesterday that she's going through some sort of a mental breakdown. Her ex has custody of her kid right now. She's gone through such bad health issues, a lot of which are because of her brain. So it could be a mental breakdown. It could be much worse, but I feel bad. And, I struggled to come back to this show at the end of last year for anyone that's been watching me quite a while now for my other soap opera stuff. But it wasn't until Kirsten Storms returned as Maxie that I was really able to start watching more consistently again and then started doing these more recaps for the show. So to hear she's going through that sucks because I have always liked Kirsten Storms and I thought Maxie's return was entertaining, but seems like maybe short-lived, sadly. As for the actual episodes, the biggest things that happened in yesterday's episode, let's start with, I'm just going to go in order of my notes. Carly brought Valentin a sandwich, saw a mess in the attic. She learned that Joss was there on Friday's episode. Carly learned about the Faison book and all of that and how Joss and Valentin think it could be linked to Anna. Carly just thinks that Valentin doesn't want to think that Anna broke down on her own. Carly wants him to calm down so that he doesn't send the WSB straight to her house and find him. But he already screwed up because he tried to call Anna in the hospital, said he was Kevin Collins on Friday. And later in the episode, that might blow up in his face, which we'll get to. Joss, meanwhile, was trying to confront Obrect and get information out of her about Nathan, who died but really isn't dead. Joss talking about how it's a miracle that Nathan is alive. Joss, as I've talked about before, one of the only characters really pushing the fact that it's weird how Nathan just recovered back into his regular life after supposedly being dead. Obrect told Joss that she shouldn't be asking these questions so she doesn't end up like Anna, and then she went and visited Not So Nathan. So it seems as though, and you can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but she doesn't really know that Nathan is really Cassius, which would be another son of hers. So that's kind of interesting that she doesn't even know. But I've never liked the Obrect character. They kept her as a villain on this show for too long. It was one of the times that I stopped watching for a long while was because of her character, quite frankly. But anyway, the most interesting part of the episode was at least someone finally confronting Joss about all of her snooping and all of her WSB stuff. It turns out that Dante actually knows that Joss is a part of the WSB, called her out on her shit, saying he's known since last summer. He hasn't told anyone. Anna's the only other person who knew. Dante wants to know if Column's shooting case isn't as open and closed as the WSB is saying it is, since she's doing all this questioning. He also said that next time she barges in to see him, he needs something more useful from her so that they can barter. I feel like this was Dante trying to actually teach Joss a lesson a little bit, that she's still pretty green when it comes to being a WSB agent, trying to throw her weight around or just trying to be sneaky, because she's not really good at either of those things, which is why I have always said I don't love that she is in the WSB. Ethan, meanwhile, was learning that Sonny sold some of his peers to Sidwell. This is when Lucy came to visit. Always good to see Lucy, even though she wasn't on much in this episode. Sonny and Lucy had a talk. Sonny wants Lucy to call him if she is ever in any danger because of Sidwell. And then later in the episode, Lucy and Sidwell did meet up. But Ethan told Sonny that wouldn't it be easier if Sonny just eliminates Sidwell? He's going through all this trouble with Sidwell. And Ethan said he would love to eliminate Sidwell himself, and he wouldn't even have to be paid because it would be personal for him because Sidwell tried to kill his mother. So Ethan was wondering and trying to get out of Sonny why Sonny wants to keep him alive and why he sold Piers to Sidwell. Ethan put it together pretty quickly that Sidwell has a leverage on Sonny, and so he wanted to know the move. Sonny, of course, was impressed that Ethan read the situation so well. I think they were trying to show us that Ethan is like his father, Luke, and I think they did a pretty good job of showing us that. Sonny doesn't want Sidwell dead yet, and it seems as though Ethan will be more than happy to be the one to try and take down Sidwell whenever that time comes. So they continue to bring Ethan more and more into the Sidwell story here, which I'm fine with. As random as I have found Ethan's return to be, I am mostly enjoying it overall. Next in the episode, we had Rocco back for community service at the hospital for his shift, seeing Britt. Dante was also there at the beginning of the episode, trying to get questions to Britt about how she's doing with Jason being gone. Honestly, the best thing about this episode is I felt like they actually gave Dante a brain for once. Because he's been the typical soap opera stupid cop on this show for quite a while now. But he actually had a brain in yesterday's episode, and it was nice to see. It was a nice change of pace from the way soap operas typically write their damn cops. But yeah, Rocco was at the hospital, ended up trying to peek in Colum's room again. Britt saw him doing it and completely flipped, freaked out. Rocco was talking in the hallway that he's never shot someone before, and she told him to shut up because he needs to keep quiet. And then she totally freaked out on him, trying to tell him to stay away from Colum and stay away from her. I think this was Britt's way of trying to protect him. It's also good that Rocco got to see this side of Britt, because I feel like Rocco's been almost putting Britt on a pedestal. Like, what if she was really my mom and not Lulu? And this is the Britt that I know, just freaking out about things. Liz saw Britt freaking out on Rocco and yelling at him and condemned Britt for treating Rocco that way. Britt was saying that she had to do it the way that she did. At the beginning of the episode, Liz was in Colum's room, and Colum was giving Liz some crap about how she has a child with the man that shot him. And he was trying to say that he can't believe that Liz is still giving him good hospitality at the hospital, even though there's a history with Colum and Jason now. She tried to say that no matter the history or her history or anyone that works at the hospital, they give the best care to anyone no matter what. They discussed Jason a bit with him trying to get information out of Liz about the night when all that shit went down. And then Liz kind of ran that information to Dante, which I felt was twofold. The show continues to tease Liz and Dante, even though I'm way more team Liz and Rick, no matter how toxic that relationship has been in the past. But then she also told Dante that Colum was asking a lot of questions about her, Jason, and Jake, and they kind of put it together that Colum is trying to piece things together too. By the end of the episode, though, it seems as though the WSB had talked to Colum at the hospital at some point, because he called Sidwell, telling Sidwell that Anna got a call from Kevin Collins, and they know that Kevin is in Ireland, but the call came from Port Charles, so they need to find out who placed that call and visit the person. It seems like Sidwell was taking orders from Colum here, so I'm still confused about the chain of command with these villains. But also, they're bringing Sidwell and Colum back into each other's orbits, hopefully building up to someone telling Sidwell that Colum murdered his son so that we can have Colum and Sidwell at odds. Because, I'm sorry, the big, huge plot hole in this whole storyline is that these are the big bads, but they're writing them as dumb lately, or especially writing Sidwell as dumb lately. But the heroes are even coming across more dumb because they're not telling Sidwell the truth to weaken the Sidwell and Column connection and try and take down both of them. That will never make sense to me. It's just a plot hole so that it could be a soap opera and stretch out the story. And frankly, they've been doing a little too much stretching lately on General Hospital. The last few weeks have been quite boring to me. I'm hoping it gets better for, May sweeps right around the corner.